Well, Growers Edge, I think, has made us more money by allowing me to survey the local bids that I'm in the area that I want to sell my grain. The local elevators and the ethanol plants know that this information is out there, so they've got to be competitive if they want to get the grain. You know, we've been able to maximize our return on our farm.
Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name's Cody Bills. Today is the 15th. It's a Wednesday. We had ethanol production out as well as the NOPA crush numbers, but before we get into those, let's turn over the grain hedge trading platform and see where we closed off the day. Corn trading up 2 1/4 cents, soybeans up 4 3/4, and wheat in Chicago trading down 6 1/2 here. We know that the wheat market continues to be beaten down here due to the improved weather forecast moving throughout the plains. Looks as though there's going to be precipitation continuing throughout this week, providing much needed moisture there to the Kansas City wheat growing areas. Keep in mind that Kansas City wheat did break new lows, moving through the lows that were printed there on March 5th. So that is disappointing. There is a possibility when you break through that you continue trending lower. Now, one thing we want to keep in mind of is the fact that we did see in the overnight session a little bit of a move higher here from wheat. So a little bit of pressure came off of the selling of wheat in the overnight session. There was an announcement from the Russian agricultural minister basically saying that they do not have any intention of lifting the export tax there. Really, they don't have any in anticipation of lifting that before it expires. However, they do not have a comment on whether or not they are going to extend that export tariff, export tax there to the new crop wheat. They're going to wait basically probably until a little bit more toward June when there's a better understanding of what their wheat crop is going to look like. So that the fact that they weren't going to raise or lift that export tax early, that kind of helps provide a little bit of support to wheat. You also had some tenders there in the earlier part of the session that were positive there for wheat. But in the end, it's that forecast, that precipitation moving into the Midwest that's really beating wheat up. Now let's talk a little bit about the ethanol production numbers. We did see production down 12,000 barrels per day here to 924,000 barrels per day this week. So the bottom line here is over the last couple of weeks we have seen a decline in production. We did see stocks increase here, 162,000 barrels. That increased up to basically 20.65 million barrels of ethanol stocks here this week. So let's just take a quick look at the weekly ethanol production chart here. You'll notice the green bars represent weekly ethanol production. You'll notice really since the end of November, kind of December time period, we've been slowly trending lower here. Keep in mind that we have had a 5.4% increase in ethanol production versus 2013. That compares to a USDA projected increase of about 1.3%. The bottom line, though, when you look at this, we have improved ethanol production here this year, but it seems as though ethanol production is trending lower. Typically, we would see, based on this 4-year average, we would see an increase in ethanol production really sent from the beginning of February on into June. We haven't really seen a pickup in ethanol production during that time period, so it's going to be interesting to see if in the coming weeks we do see a little bit of bump there in ethanol production as we move toward the summer driving season. Let's talk a little bit about the NOPA crush report here. One thing to note is that NOPA crush numbers came out. We saw soybeans crushed way better than expectations here, seeing 162.822 million bushels crushed for the month of March. That's up 5.8% from the 2014 levels of March. This is a record for March crush. Keep in mind that it also beat analyst expectations here, which ranged from 150.5 million bushels to 159.5 million bushels. So this was very positive crush numbers, but despite the positive crush numbers, you'll notice we were unable to hold on to those gains that we had throughout most of the morning part of the session. We did trade we traded a lot higher here in the earlier part of the session, but after this report was released, it seemed like we were hit with some selling pressure, almost a buy the rumor, sell the facts sort of situation. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not we see some continuation in weak prices here in tomorrow's trade. It was very disappointing to see the resistance level, this trend line resistance level that is drawn really from the beginning of March, the highs in the beginning of March to the highs in late March here and early part of April. You can see that trend line here providing very significant resistance during today's trade. Also that 20-day moving average, a little bit of resistance there, and that sort of buy the rumor, sell the facts sort of trade, really showing a little bit of weakness here for soybeans. There is some concern. We did get the Rosario Grain Exchange. They raised their 2014 and 15 soybean harvest to 59 million metric tons on Wednesday. That's up from 58 million metric tons in their previous forecast. They also lifted their corn forecast here up to 27 or 25.7 from 23.5. So that's up 2.2 million metric tons. That to me seems a little bit more negative. So we have a little bit of negative news in terms of overall global supply here on the market. Looks as though we could see an increase in South American production based on what the Rosario Grain Exchange announced. Let's talk a little bit about export sales expectations, which will be coming out tomorrow. We do have expectations that range for corn between 400,000 and 600,000 metric tons. Last week we booked 639,000 metric tons, so it's going to be interesting to see if we can continue to come out on the high side of analyst expectations for corn. Soybeans expecting anywhere between cancellations of 50,000 metric tons and sales of 150,000. Last week we had net cancellations. We'll see if we can come in on the positive here tomorrow. And then wheat anywhere between 100,000 metric tons to 300,000 metric tons. We did see that above 300,000 metric tons last week. Hopefully we get that again. We'll have to see. Guys, stay tuned. We will be blogging about this early in the morning when the export sales come out. If you do not receive our blog, if you don't get our morning updates, you can get those morning updates actually by subscribing to that 14-day free trial. You'll get the updates, the commentary that goes out before the market opens, and you'll also get live quotes from your mobile platform as well as your desktop computer. So go ahead to the 14-day free trial at grainhedge.com, put in your name and number. We'll get in touch with you, make sure you get the training that you need to make sure that you have the tools that you need and the tools that will help you improve your overall marketing flexibility this year. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you on Thursday here for the Export Sales Report.